everybody, welcome to another episode of Andertons TV. I'm the Captain.
And I am Danish Pete.
So today's video is about a kind of a pedal that's like a little amp really in a box, I guess. It's a preamp in a box by Victory. It's called the Copper. If you're familiar with Victory generally, or perhaps more specifically this V4 range of pedals, you'll know that Victory make sort of families of amplifiers. So they'll have a Sheriff, which is perhaps, you know, classic rocky British martially inspired. They'll have a Kraken, which is more modern and higher gain. They'll have the Copper, which is perhaps an AC kind of vibe. The Duchess, which is maybe more of an American clean vibe.
Fender, yep.
And then what they do with those families is they kind of just do different things at different prices that might appeal to different people, but within that vein of sound.
Yeah.
So the V4 range of preamp pedals are essentially 4-valve preamp recreations of the bigger amplifiers that can be used either as a straightforward plug the guitar in, take an output, stick it in an amp, stick it in a desk, whatever, you know, like a conventional rooted pedal, or as we're doing here, in the 4-cable method, where essentially the guitar is plugged into here. Using some more cables, we've got the effects loop of the amplifier running also into the pedal. And what we can now do is switch between whether we just want to hear the preamp tone of the actual amp that we're running with, in this case a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, and you could switch the channels on the Hot Rod Deluxe if you want to, or bypassing the preamp section of the Hot Rod Deluxe and replacing it with the preamp section of the Copper, but still then through the power section of the combo that you use. All the tones you heard at the beginning of the video were basically the preamp from the Copper into the power amp of the Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yeah.
Although the different families of V4 pedal from Victory will have a different vibe, so as I said, the Sheriff will be more martially, the Kraken and the Countess will be perhaps more modern. The Copper is more of an AC kind of vibe. They all contain 4 valves, so they're full valve circuitry.
Crazy.
And they all do this whole, you know, they've all got this option to be wired into the amp in the way I just explained.
Yeah.
So what you were hearing there for the first couple of bits that Pete was jamming on was the green channel, if you like, a normal AC kind of channel. And then as it got gainier, we switched to the TB channel, the treble boost channel. Now, just a quick overview of the controls. We've got treble, middle and bass and a tone control, which are shared across both channels. We've got a single gain control, but then we've got its own master volume for channel 1 and its own master volume for the treble boost channel. This bass cut control is interesting. Probably need to make sure you're familiar with this because it's not hugely intuitive from the screen print. But what basically is giving you the option here is in the downward position, you're turning the bass cut off completely.
Yeah. So you got the whole full fatness.
The full fatness of the tone across both channels. In the middle position, the bass cut is on. Yeah, on both channels.
Yeah, so you get no bottom end.
Yeah, or not less bottom end.
Less bottom, less bottom
and
end.
And then in the top position, it's
confusing.
Off on the first channel to give you the sort of the full fattest clean tone.
Yeah,
and it's on the treble boost channel because that's kind of the more gain I think you apply to a Vox amplifier, the more you want to take the bass end away to stop it being muddy. So should we just go through some of those tones?
We should.
So here is, just to give you an idea of a kind of the sound of the Fender. Here's the pedal completely switched off. I'll talk about why I'm using a remote switch for it in a minute as well.
Yeah.
So here's what a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, completely unmodified, with this beautiful Gretsch guitar
120T.
through it. Everything flat, a little bit of reverb. Here's what it sounds like.
So just the Fender?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great sounding amplifier, super popular.
Yeah,
I suppose if you were talking about Fender amplifiers, it's not as bright as some of the things like a Deluxe or a Twin or something like that would be. It's probably a more pedal friendly, slightly mellower sounding Fender amp. I can, whilst the pedal is in bypass mode, use the Hot Rod Deluxe as you would anyway. So I can have the dirty channel.
Yeah.
I can have, you know, anyway, I can do all the switching that I could do on a Hot Rod Deluxe. No problem at all. As soon as I engage the copper, now none of these controls work except for, believe it or not, the reverb control. The reverb still works on. In fact, it works, I think, on most amps where the reverb is post the effects loop.
So on the DP40 or V40, whatever.
Yeah, most of the time the reverb will work, but none of the other controls do. The master volume doesn't work. The EQs don't work. Nothing else works now. Everything is from here.
Yes.
So let's do. Here is a no bass cut, full fat, big, clean tone from the copper.
So that's just the...
That's the clean sound here with no bass cut. Let's just do a comparison. So Fender clean sound. So we're not driving the copper particularly here. I haven't done much with the EQ controls, a little bit less treble, a little bit less bass. That really, I think that'll change. Your tone settings will change depending on the amp and the guitar you use it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lovely guitar. I forgot how good this is.
If I engage the bass cut, you'll notice more of a difference now between perhaps how the copper sounds and how the Fender sounds. So here's the Fender again.
Much more, much less low end and much more top.
And I kind of feel a bit like with the bass cut in, I'm not saying necessarily I like it more or less, but I think it's more voxy once you start to use the bass cut.
Absolutely. And it also cuts through more if you are in a band setting. I mean, we talked about that before. If you are sitting at home, it's nice to have all that low end. If you're playing with a band, it's nice to have the middle and the punch out. Anyway. So
there are absolutely, you know, you can drive the channel 1 a little bit on here as well if you want to.
Even on the...
That's where I think really the bass cut is super handy, because if we take the bass cut off now and you do those...
Engage? Or off. So again, it is probably better in a setting with a band because it's going to cut through more in the room here. It just adds that low end or...
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong with the bass cut.
No.
It's just, I do agree.
That's a scenario thing,
The louder you go, and again, particularly on things like the 8030 where you had a 30-watt amplifier, the louder you go, the more drive, the more the bass end just starts to go like, I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, with the bass as well.
The bass cut kind of tightens it up, and it's a necessity. At lower volumes, absolutely, you might find that you prefer the sound without the bass cut. Anyway.
Mentioned the speaker in here is an A-type. So this is the new Fender Hot Rod Deluxe version 4, and it's got the Celestion A-type in there. Just so you know what it is, that we're not running a blue back or a grey back or something in here.
I mean, that's an interesting one. I think, you know, a big part of that Vox sound are the speakers they use. So of course, you know, you're never necessarily going to get really crazy authentic Vox sounds from something like this unless you're using the speaker as well. Of course, what a lot of people will use this into is as a recording preamp into a speaker simulator that load up your favorite blue back, green back Alnico speaker, and hey.
Which Victory did with Two Notes recently, and they done the pack off the cabinet that goes with that, with the gold, Alnico gold in it. And I've did some playing at home, but it sounds absolutely amazing.
So lots of ways you can use this. As I said, we're just showing you this into a guitar amplifier. Maybe there'll be videos on other channels that show you how to use the V4s as a recording preamp. It's just as happy doing that.
It's very happy. Like this. It's happy.
Anyway, let's go over to the treble boost channel. Again, we'll start without the bass cut and with a sort of a medium gain. And here you go.
that's a good sound, isn't
should
it?
we just, how different is that to channel 1? Let's...
Oh,
I still think that sounds fine without the bass cut.
Yeah.
So, without it.
Yeah. It's really, it's quite confusing, that little knob. You'll get it when you get it,
yeah,
you get it. It's
and
the
then
happiest pedal.
the more I drive the gain, the more, and absolutely we can go into, you know, super drill.
That's
now
good.
I'm going to put the bass cut in though now, because I think with that much gain, I prefer it with the bass. Now, what I sort of want to do now is just go, if I had a Hot Rod Deluxe, how much better or different is the dirty channel? So let's just have a little play on, this is now just the Hot Rod back with its dirty channel on it. So.
And we know these are not renowned for the...
No, not
it's
really,
much better than version 4,
yeah.
Not renowned for the gain. That's not bad, actually. Better than I remember.
Oh, wrong button.
Oh, you would.
I'm much.
Actually,
it's
much. Yeah.
I'm much.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's got so much more character
Go
and
back,
harmonic.
Go back to that one.
Literally, sorry. Oh man, too many buttons.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So that's this distortion. This one, and that's this one. And what I really like about this 4-cable method is what we've done is we've taken a Hot Rod Deluxe, which is a sort of a 2.5 channel amplifier. I say it's really 2 channels, but then you've got 2 modes of drive, so that's why I say 2.5. And we've made it into like a 4.5 channel amplifier, because you know, as I said, all the tones in the Hot Rod are still there. I press one button, now I've got 2 different tones.
Yeah.
Now I press another button, I'm back to the Hot Rod. Very cool.
So I just need to try to turn it on again, please. I'm just going to see this.
With the, I'm gonna switch this bass cut position up into its top position. And what's happening now is we don't have the bass cut for the green channel, but we do have the bass cut for the treble boost channel.
Bass cat.
Bass cat, yes.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what we need. We need a bass
cat.
cat. And the idea being is that your clean channel then should be big, full, and voluptuous, and your driven channel should be a little bit tighter and more appropriate for a sort of a some Larry gainy stuff. So here we go, and I'll just switch. Ready, sir? I really like this. Now,
sounds great.
Let's just quickly tell you why am I using a remote switch for it. Now, 4 valves in a little metal box will mean that it's quite difficult mechanically to press, like do that basically. It's the same as with any valve product. If I went up to a valve amplifier with some gain in it and I tap the front of it, you often hear that. So of course, having the foot switches on the front here sort of accentuate that.
Yeah.
So by using a remote foot switch on the floor, which by the way is just, doesn't come with it, but it's just the same ye old fashioned analogy kind of 2-button foot switch that Marshall or whoever would use.
Very
so
generic.
I think the Victory one is about 20 quid. Anyway, so that's, and it, honestly, I think they all buy their foot switches from the same company.
Yeah, it completely looks
their own
like
badge on it. So I don't think there's anything. There's certainly nothing special technology-wise in that. So as I said, I can use a remote foot switch if I feel like, you know, that's if the pinging annoys me.
Yeah.
If I was using this for recording and stuff like that, the reality is I'd probably just set it how I wanted to do, and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And live-wise, I think you've got to decide yourself. I mean, I was talking to the Victory guys earlier and saying, I mean, they reckon they're up to about 3,000 sales of the V4 pedals totally. And the guy in service was saying maybe 5 people have complained about the pinging. So they're not saying that the thing to make clear is that the pinging is not indicative that you have a faulty valve. It doesn't mean that the valves are getting near the end of their lives. It doesn't mean that anything's not working how it is. It's just a mechanical thing.
Yeah.
If you have a valve circuited anything and you flick the valve,
I don't think it's a thing you would put on your pedal board. For me personally, I would use these in the studio. I have 4 of them, and then just have a power amp, whatever, and then use them in the studio. Or you will have it on your top of your amp if you're gigging, you know, and then have it on a remote switch.
I mean, to be honest with you,
on your board, you've
got so many options here. You could use this with
there's a lot of cables.
A G2. You know, any kind of, if you had a G3, G2, any kind of switching system, you could use the remote on the side to operate it, or I suppose.
But that's what I mean. In that respect, you'll just have it sitting back there
somewhere.
You don't want 4 cables running out to the front and then with a pedal board and all sorts of stuff. That's loom.
But that is the 4-cable method.
Yeah, and nobody keeps anyway these days.
HX Stomp or GT Core, you know, you'll be using the 4-cable method. But look, so that's the pedal. I know it's a cool sounding thing, and I do know customers who see this as quite a clever way to take a basic amp like a Hot Rod Deluxe, and they'll have a Sheriff, and they'll have a Copper, and they'll have they won't have a Copper yet because it's not out. But you know, they'll have a Sheriff and a Kraken or whatever, and literally it just gives them another amp for 360 quid. I think these are.
I have to say, you have to have an effects loop on your amp. So if your amp doesn't have an effects loop, well, you can run it in the front, but it won't be exactly the same, will it?
To do what we've done here with the 4-cable method, you need an effects loop in your amplifier. If you don't have an effects loop, it's just going to run in the front end like a normal pedal would. However, what you're then doing is you're running this preamp sound into this preamp sound, and you're just getting a mishmash of the two. Doesn't mean it's going to sound bad. It just means it's not quite allowing the Copper to make your amp as voxy
whack
as
you
it
over
would
the head
like
with
to.
his baton. Could you put this in an effects loop of a say Boss Katana with an effects loop?
You can put, absolutely.
I wonder what that would sound like. Well, you get a bit of tube goodness in there.
Yeah, I mean, any amp,
That's
solid state, you could effectively make your Boss Katana. I mean, it's difficult to know. I mean, this pedal is more expensive than a Boss Katana, so it's hard to see whether you would. But you absolutely could. You could make your Boss Katana into a hybrid valve and solid state amplifier
like an old Music Man.
By using one of these V4 pedals.
I like that.
They're made in England, so as is all the Victory stuff. I said 4 valves, so it's real valve. There's no digitalness in here.
Digital.
It's just doing what it's doing. So
it's wonderful. I like it a lot. I think it's cool.
Bizarrely, I might throw this out there. I think actually the Copper might be my favourite one of all so far. But then that's probably just because I like a good voxy sounding.
You like dressing up like a Copper on a Saturday evening.
But look, so you know, if you like this, perhaps this is the first time you've seen a video on V4. But yeah, check them out. There's a Kraken version. There's a Sheriff version. There's a Jack. That confused me a bit. The Victory recently changed the name of the Countess to the Jack. Anyway, so it's the same thing. It's just called a different thing. But yeah, so check out the family, see what you think. That's it. Do you want to play us out with something?
I just want to try to put an overdrive pedal in the front.
We haven't done that yet. Just to be clear, have we? We haven't
done that yet. I just want to try it. So if I just get a clean tone from you,
do you want bass cut on or off?
There you go. So that's just that with into here.
Yep.
Turn the reverb down a bit, and here's the Dane. Everything at 12. Here it is off. Okay, and then please go to the next channel.
Oh,
to the,
you want to get
tone
naughty,
boost.
do you? Okay,
and then I want to
fine.
just put in the boost side of the plane. Anyway,
I mean, I didn't really play around with the EQ much here, and perhaps and we've only used the one guitar. We kind of picked the Gretsch because it felt like a bit of a sort of an English 60s kind of, a lot of bands would have used that guitar into an AC30 kind of vibe.
How good this guitar is.
And it definitely did sound, I think if you want to do some more digging, I think you can find some other videos of this by other channels, including, I know Victory asked Pete to do the official Victory one, but you used a Telly and a
Les Paul and a Strat. So
there'll be
a little bit of each.
You know, if you want to, if you can't relate to the tone of this guitar and you want to hear it with something else, go watch that video.
Yeah.
But hey,
there we go.
I think it's good. I mean, I like, to be honest with you, the Hot Rod Deluxe is a great little amp to go.
I love it.
You know, because it's like thousands of you will own one of these, and thousands of clubs have them as the hired backline, and they're not crazy expensive, so you know, we can't, there's no sort of accusation that you've gone and put some £2,000 guitar amplifier. It's just, there you go. So that's it. Links below.
We don't have anything in here that's over £2,000. There's no amp in here that's £2,000 for the head.
We haven't got, it's not like we don't have
It's not like there's Two Rocks and Soldanos or anything that's over £2,000 in here. So actually,
yeah, we're keeping it fairly real.
Fairly real.
Anyway, can you play us out with some Queen?